This bill makes me extremely emotional because it's very personal to me. Um, I want to thank the speaker for this bill. I want to thank the sponsor of this bill for the long, hard journey it took for us to get here. And we're finally doing right by a vulnerable population here in New York. Um, as I was thinking about my remarks for today, I contacted my ex-husband who spent a lot of time in our prison facility. And I let him know that I'm going to speak on HALT Solitary. And I said, I want your words to be on the floor. Um, and he took us back to when I would visit him in solitary and reminded me of a lot of things that I chose to forget because of the trauma. And he mentioned that what solitary does is it messes up your communication with your family. It messes up your ability to just know how to speak and deal with people. He reminded me that I could not bring my daughter to see him, so that was time that she did not get to spend with her dad. It reminded me of the search you have to go through as a family member. It reminded me of the cage you have to sit in as a family member and watch your loved one being shackled at the hands, shackled at the feet, just to have that hour conversation. And the part that I did not get to see, but he reminded me of, is that when you have to be transported to court and you're in solitary, you are shackled at your hands, you are shackled at your feet, and you're put in mittens. And you are in that state for at least 12 hours, if not longer. We don't do this to our dogs. If you did not take your dog out for 15, 20, 30 days, your neighbors will be calling the police on you. But we found it to be okay to do this to human beings. There are times where you may not even get to eat. If there is a lockdown or something happening in the prison, you don't get that 1 hour to be outside. That has been forfeited for the day. And we're saying that this is okay. And then you would think, oh well, they must have done something wrong to put themselves there. But what about the women who are pregnant, who they tell you that they're sticking in solitary for their safety? A woman carrying a child having no contact with other human beings. And the only contact she's going to get is when she leaves that cage or the box or the shoe or whatever they're choosing to call it, when she leaves that cage in shackles to go to her appointment. Or my transgender brothers and sisters who, for their safety, supposedly, not because they did something wrong, but because we don't know what to do with people who look different, who may seem different than who you are today. We stick them in solitary for their safety because they are trans. And we're saying that's okay. I reached out to Khalif Browder's brother, Akeem Browder, to let him know that we're going to speak on HALT Solitary today. And for those of you who do not know, we lost Khalif Browder. He committed suicide because he was in prison and spent a lot of his time in solitary confinement on allegations of stealing a backpack, which was proven that he did not steal. So 3 years of his life, and the majority of it was spent in solitary. And when he came home, He was seen as different. His mom said he was zombie-like from the treatment that he received in our prison system. And so I said to Akeem, I'll be sure to share your words on the floor because your brother's not here and neither is your mother. But you are here to speak to what solitary does to people and families. So the words of Akeem Browder, I say, after so many years of fighting to end solitary confinement, we are closer than ever to our goal with today's discussion of the bill. He wants to thank the sponsor in support of people like my brother Khalif Browder and my mother Vanita Browder. After years of solitary confinement, Khalif understood that ending solitary is urgently needed and that support would be needed to repair the damages already done. In a report he wrote in college, A Closer Look at Solitary Confinement in the United States, Khalif wrote, maybe another form of correction should be done when considering the mental health risks imposed, which are too often and too great to recover from. His words, written after 2 years of his own torture in solitary for a wrongful arrest, underscored his intense focus on righting the wrongs that have been done to him and so many others. My mother, Vanita, only wanted accountability for the wrongful allegation, which caused 3 years of incarceration that took her youngest child away and returned him home as a different person. She often referred to her son as someone she didn't recognize, someone who was almost zombie-like. After Khalif passed, my mother did advocate. She relentlessly pushed through the heartache to end solitary confinement before she too passed away. They both passed while fighting to end this barbaric practice, which has so deeply scarred not just our family, but thousands of families all across our state, but mostly families in Black and brown communities, families in poor communities. Akeem says, no more waiting, no more delays. It is time to end this torturous and barbaric thing that we're doing here in our state. And so I just want you all to be reminded that you may know them as the Central Park Five or the Exonerated Five, but I know Antron McCray as Tronny because I grew up on the same block that he grew up with. And those guys, we know, went to jail on a wrongful conviction. And we know that Corey Wise spent some time in solitary. And we know that it was not good for anyone's mental health. So today, I say thank you to our sponsor. I say thank you to our advocates, our allies, our activists. And I stand here for my ex-husband. And I stand here for Khalif Browder and the Browder family. And I stand here for the Exonerated Five to let you all know that I will be voting in the affirmative on this bill. And I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to speak.